What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 733 of the Smark Moments Smack Talk Hot Tags podcast of the week. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Robbie Felice.
Hey.
And Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And of course, all of you are here as well, so we always want to know what you have to say. Drop your thoughts in the comments below or anywhere else that you are listening to us. Maybe you are on our Discord server. Go ahead and check that out and join that channel. Or maybe you are on YouTube, and if you are, hit that subscribe button if you aren't already. Make sure that you have your email alerts set up with that little bell icon. Click on the like button if you enjoy this podcast. Want to give us a little boost. It's always greatly appreciated. As are the monetary options, the thanks button, the join button over on the YouTube channel membership. You got the Patreon, you got the subscriber options, all on both sides being pretty much exactly the same. Redbubble and TeePublic are merchandise options too, so keep that stuff in mind if you want to pick up something that can, help us keep the lights on and stuff. Hot tags this week, after a lot of AEW and WWE Smarkies talk with the end of the year awards and stuff, are actually quite a bit of things to talk about. And, this has been a pretty busy week, despite it also in some ways not being all that busy and all that complicated. They phoned it in on some regards, and some of the pre-tape stuff seems like it's kind of meh, but we are going to talk about some spoilers for tonight's SmackDown. And right now at least 3:30 they haven't started doing the other tapings. I think that actually doesn't even start until maybe like 6 or so, or maybe a little bit later than that actually. So pay attention to that stuff coming up. 6 o'clock it says it's for Michigan, whatever that time frame is. So SmarkMM.com will have spoilers for more of those things, but we've got plenty other TV shows and different things to break down here. And I guess we might as well just get started and go back to Monday Night Raw and kind of like frame everything through there. Most of the things that I got written down here are things that are basically TV based, and thankfully we had some pretty interesting things that have happened here and there. One of them being that the masked man, the mystery attacker, unveiled himself. And lo and behold, it's the guy that everybody said that it would be all along. So they went out of their way to make sure that they had multiple people go under the mask and to pretend to be somebody different just to throw fans off, but only for basically 1 week. For the most part, everybody's just been like, it's the theory. And then now, once somebody else comes about there that's like, is this Montez Ford? Is this so-and-so? Is whatever is going to be anybody but theory? Or is it going to be multiple people? That's theory. He's shaved his head. They haven't explained it. I think we kind of all are sort of like, about it at most. Like, I like theory. I think that he got the raw deal for certain parts of his pushes. But at the same time, I can't be defending him as being like, this is such a clear and obvious the guy going forward type. So I hope that it works out. But they're not off to a great start, I think.
For me, it's not up or shut up time for theory. Like, he's either going to be a thing after this, or he's going to be mid-card at best. He's young, he is talented, but I think he's had enough start-stop pushes where it feels like this is a waste of time, but also you might as well try to get something out of him while you got him. He's got enough of the fake, credentials. What was the line CM Punk said that one time? He grabbed so many of the imaginary brass rings. I mean, he was part of the last storyline with Vince McMahon. I mean, yes, everything with Vince is icky right now, but that's got to count for something. He's the last guy to get the on-screen stamp from McMahon. He beat John Cena at WrestleMania. That's got to count for something. He's done programs with Austin, former Money in the Bank winner, although he has the worst cash-in human history. And I guess you got to try, but they're working very uphill here.
Yeah, I mean, they've learned the thing about pushing young people is that you shave the hair off. That's the secret. That's the secret behind a good push of a young person, as Carl Fletcher is the testament to. That once you do that, then you're taking them seriously. But in all seriousness, it's kind of, yeah, as Rob says, it's the last chance really for Fury to really establish himself as a guy that could be a main event act in future. I think he's a guy that is a good wrestler. I think he's got a solid moveset. I think it's one of those guys that is good at the move side of things. I kind of struggle a bit with the psychology aspect when I watch him. I just don't think that he's got it. And anything that the only thing that he's really thrived in is being kind of a lackey jock role that does the comedy stuff with like Johnny Gargano back when they were doing the stuff in NXT. That's where that's his safe spot. That's where he thrives the best. Him trying to do like a serious heel, like main event group, joining the Vision and getting involved in all that stuff. I have a lot of reservations about that. So yeah, I'm not expecting great things out of it, unfortunately. But as I won't be watching. But like, I hope for his sake that he proves the doubters wrong. But that's not going to change my opinion of it for now.
I'm still just curious where his positioning is going to be, because it clearly can't be at the top, because that's going to be Braun Breaker. But then if you put him in like some kind of a secondary role, what about Bronson Reed? And I don't know if there's really enough room for them to try to push both of them in that upper mid-card spot, at least enough for them to break out of it, because at some point, somebody has to lose matches. And if Theory is there to be the guy that can lose the matches, well, then that goes without being said that his push is basically nothing. And if he's not the guy to take some pinfalls, it sucks for Bronson Reed, who's been, holding down the fort for all this time and the biggest guy in the group. So I almost kind of wish that they would have had more than Theory. And maybe it would have been like Theory and like one or two other people, make like a full-blown faction out of this, and they could do what they've done before in the past, like some other people that are like Paul Heyman guys, quote unquote, of maybe he really likes I don't know, I'm trying to think of somebody who's like not doing anything crazy right now. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't like specifically said anybody that would be like, I'm a big fan of so-and-so and I really think that they could do something. But like, I don't know, maybe he's a big fan of like JD McDonough, for instance. You want to take him out of the Judgment Day.
He's on the shelf, but yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's injured. Or maybe somebody like a...
By the way, guys, this is the problem. You think this roster is deep until you start going... let me think of a guy for a certain role, and then suddenly that roster is not that deep anymore.
Well, it's more so most of the people that I'm looking through, and I'm like, all right, that person's got this, they got that, this person's injured, because you can't throw in like, an Apollo Crews. He's got nothing going on right now. When's he going to be back? Or DIY could potentially be like a fun addition to that sort of group. But they're over on SmackDown, and they're just a tag team, so maybe they don't necessarily go in that direction, or... maybe that's where you throw in somebody from NXT, but then again, that would have to be somebody that you're trusting. So, like, maybe Tony D'Angelo could have.
Back.
He hasn't been on TV, though.
I know.
Yeah, like, I kind of wish that they would incorporate more. Maybe that would have even been a decent enough spot for, like, a Ricky Saints or something, but I think that he's probably in the better spot right now.
I think that, and this comes just with the idea of, like, kayfabe's dead, right? Where we're literally asking, hey, who can we bring up to a main spot and push, but not really push, because we want a faction to have a pin eater. I'd rather them just push Theory and him not be a pin eater. I'm not going to do the thing that everybody did after the Cena match, where they all shit on Gunther and called him a 40-year-old man, saying that John Cena didn't need to lose to him. But Bronson Reed is, 36, 37. I think his role is largely going to max out at what we're seeing him do in the Vision. And if he ends up being the Umaga style pin eater, where, yeah, you can be invincible until you're not, and you're all going to do is eat pins. I think that's a good role.
We brought up Gunther, and they started off this episode of Raw with him gloating about making John Cena tap out, and then a bunch of people were upset. Alpha Academy, R-Truth, Adam Pearce, AJ Styles. Got a lot of heat, so that's working.
I mean, yeah, my issue, we talked about this on the end of the year awards, so because people aren't going to hear it, so I'll talk about it here. My issue with the John Cena thing had nothing to do with the Gunther ending. In fact, I even said I was surprised at how many people weren't expecting that exact ending. But I think it's good where they're going with Gunther. They're setting him up to be the guy who retires AJ. They went right there. I wouldn't even be opposed to that being the Mania match. All reports suggest that it isn't. But if it was, I wouldn't be against that. Like, AJ Styles retiring at Mania would be a fun thing. And I like where we're going here. I like that it feels like Gunther's got something behind him. I don't think he needed this. But being the monster career ender could be a fun role for him.
It's going to be like over 87% of the time that he's been on the roster, he's been champion, and over 10% of the time he's been retiring people.
The other 10% he's been killing people.
Right.
It's important that for them that they managed to get this good heat on Gunther straight away and make him like public enemy number one in the eyes of the fans, because the main issue that coming out of that Saturday Night's Main Event show, apart from just the general reaction to Cena losing, is that all the heat seemed to be directed towards Triple H.
Yeah.
And the booking of the match, as opposed to Gunther getting a good deal of the heat. So it is a good thing that they've transitioned that heat away and onto Gunther as part of the TV show, and he's like buying into it as big as possible, and he's making a huge deal about what he did, and they're going to seemingly make a story out of it. They've got plenty of soon that are on the like closing in on retirement. So AJ Styles, Brock Lesnar, Chris Jericho, if and when he comes back. So they can definitely, and probably Randy Orton eventually, because that was his gimmick originally. So he's got people that he can run through, and they can make it sustainable as long as they have plans for it. I think mainly just the issue with the Cena match and the negative reaction is because the only reason why people were so seemingly convinced by the fact that Cena was going to win his final match is because they didn't do any story leading into the final match. Like, the story was a guy just won a tournament to face Cena in his final match, and so they just like assumed that even though Gunther is a prominent main event guy, it's like, well, they haven't told us any story going into it that like Gunther was really desperate to beat John Cena, or even like him cutting any promos. He wasn't even on TV in the months leading up to the tournament starting. So I think it's just people. First of all, probably a lot of them did just want the happy ending of Cena getting his final win, but also because they hadn't done any good job of presenting Gunther as the right person to beat Cena in his final match.
So hopefully it carries on, and they end up being able to get something really good out of it. Doesn't seem like they're heading in like a specific direction, other than, if they tease AJ Styles is there wanting to fight Gunther, you would assume that they're going to have some kind of a match at some point, and probably Gunther beats the crap out of Otis and Akira Tozawa, because that's, how do you get a lot of heat? Oh, you beat up the people that you've beaten up 1,000 times, right? It's typical WWE.
Well, I mean, my
thing.
God, they were in the WrestleMania angle.
Right. For way too long for that angle. Most of what happened on Raw was just pretty inconsequential. Even if it matters, it's stuff that's not really worth, like, Usos beat New Day. Okay, whatever. Maxine retains over Ivy. Sure. Raquel was temporarily on the concussion protocol for Nikki Bella's attack for her, but seems like she's been cleared, so it's fine. Logan Paul beat Rey Mysterio, and then it's the whole thing with the Masked Man and stuff. JD McDonough was mentioned as being injured, so that's one thing to keep track of. He's gone for whenever,
an undisclosed amount of time, which I think he's actually had surgery.
Yeah.
So that's,
I don't know what the surgery was as far as like how he, how long he's going to be out because I haven't seen any information about that yet. Could have been like, I've been waiting for the surgery for a while and now I'm going to do it. Or maybe it's just, hey, you know, as such and such is injured, got to do it now. Could be.
So a couple of things I just want to touch on real quick with the Gunther thing. I think they missed an opportunity to not only have Gunther take the "You Can't See Me," but he really should have said, "Who's next?" Like that. I know Goldberg's in the rear view, but I think that would have been a really good or even AJ. Hey AJ, you're next. You know, just like a little wink and a nod, and just. I think they were missing out on that, and also. I gotta talk about the Usos, just because how lame is Jimmy Uso that Jay Uso's theme song is literally the Usos theme, but they did not bother to change it from "It's Just Me" as Jimmy's in the background dancing to "It's Just Me," but it's literally not just a small thing.
It's
I know,
just me,
but
Oos,
it's
and
just so
Jimmy.
funny.
It's just me, Oos, and my brother Jimmy.
Yeah, it's like, good lord. I mean, Usos New Day, they've still got it. You know, they still have fun matches. Bless them. It had been a while, so it was fun to see. But I just wanted to call attention to that because that's so ridiculous.
It really is. They just like, well, we can't not have people do the arms. So
Yeah, but you can still do the arms to Down Since Day One Ish because didn't he start moving his arms to that song and then he got his own theme?
or just record over it. It's just us, Oos. Yeah, everything else for Raw just was what it was. And we're going to get some taping today for the next episode, which at the very least is going to have Rhea Ripley against Asuka, Bayley against Roxanne Perez, and Javon Evans against Rayo Americano. So Pete Dunne, with a mask that doesn't fit on any of his promo pictures. People have been pointing that out lately, and I think that's kind of funny. So it doesn't seem like it's a great episode of Raw that they're going to be recording, to be perfectly honest. If that's your lineup, sure. Bayley and Roxanne, they're, all 6 people are good to great. But it's not exactly the, you gotta tune in for Bayley and Roxanne again. You gotta tune in for the NXT guy that some people don't know against one of the underlings of El Grande Americano. And man, if you haven't seen enough Rhea Ripley and Asuka, they're going to have been a match for something. And it's really just for, Ripley will beat Asuka and then they're getting a title shot soon. So
as much as I love WrestleMania season, I hate the month of December. It's getting to the point, guys, where I'm like, I think you need to institute an off season. Just take the month off. It's getting a little ridiculous where it's just like, this month doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just take the month off.
At the very least, take the episodes off and do some kind of clip show or something. They're taking off Evolve. They're not doing anything with that. So, that's one thing. The next thing that had been aired after that was AEW having a little special event, adding more onto their lineup, funny enough, instead of taking away. But that was an AEW Dark special called the Stocking Stuffer, which I thought was kind of cute. And I like the little graphics and stuff that they had up on there. They only had 3 matches on it. I did not see the event just because I'm burned out on pro wrestling. And it was like, well, what's the option? I either watch that and I get further along with the editing of the awards, or what's my priority? So
I
didn't see
watch
it.
I believe that's the night that we did the WWE awards.
Yeah, I think so. So what happened there is Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, and Mascara Dorada beat Mark Andrews and Kid Lycos 1 and 2. Don't know them.
Yep, they're a British tag team. Obviously, there was a lot of British talent on this show.
Marina Shafir beat Isla Dawn. And then Death Riders, Moxley, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta beat Nathan Cruz and the Grizzled Young Veterans, who I don't think have won a single match in AEW so far.
I think they have a collision, yeah.
They won when I was there.
Ah.
I watched them win.
And they've run matches.
I like them teaming with Isla Dawn as well. You know, I like them teaming with Isla. I think it's a good pairing.
Yeah, it was just a nice little fun bonus show for the UK crowd. I mean, that UK crowd, both in like Cardiff and Manchester, was so like loud and excited throughout the entire things that I think you just had to take advantage and film as much content as possible as you could while you were there.
Should have filmed that guy choking out the other guy. Put that up on there.
Jesus Christ, no! Don't act like assholes when you go to wrestling shows.
Don't act like assholes for anything. Anybody.
I mean, yes, don't act like assholes for anything, but
It's not like you step outside and then you end up being like, well, I'm not in the wrestling show anymore. Let me go choke out somebody.
It's the reason why I will vehemently stand. I know people will be annoyed, but I would, if I was in charge of the world for a day, I would make a wholesale ban on alcohol in like those sort of gatherings and events. Because I can't just take my crack pipe in there. So why would I be able to just drink? It's like
you travel around that on a regular basis.
it is.
How do you feel I get through these podcasts?
Yeah. I was gonna say we learn something new about each other every podcast, and then casually in the background, Callum's just smoking some crack.
All I need to do is mute my microphone.
That is true. He is unmuted a lot.
Yeah. Hey, it's not like I haven't taken an edible beforehand. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of them doing these little arc specials. Why not? You put it out there every once in a while. It's not like it's a weekly show where they have 15 matches and you got to watch that and it's, nobody's and whatever. They had some major stars on this and it's a little extra bonus thing. If it gives them some boost to their YouTube channel, why not do that every once in a while? Seems like they needed to get permission from Warner Brothers for it, or at least that's what Tony Khan was saying. So I guess it might not be a regular thing, but if they enjoyed it and if it ended up causing no problems, or if it succeeded in something, we might be seeing more of these. Maybe that'll be like an AEW Dark Battle of the Belts or something, or AEW Dark Beach Blast something, or I don't know. I like the little stocking stuff.
I guess there'd be one advantage of WBD dying is they might not have to get that permission there anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And then we could just get Dark again. I liked Dark.
Update for that Warner Brothers thing for anybody that's curious. Paramount is pissed and they are trying so hard to be like, but what about us? And
didn't Netflix just say nope?
Netflix eventually basically was like, if I understand this correctly, they were like, yeah, well, we agreed to a deal, so no. And then Warner Brothers apparently said, yeah, we're not interested in you, Paramount. And then Paramount said, but you got to pay attention to the fact that we didn't say final and best offer. And then Warner Brothers said, no. And it seems like a good portion of it is because they are backed by like Saudi money and stuff. And I think
Saudi money, Jared Kushner money, and
some Trump money. Like, and it's like, look at them being like, I don't know if I really want to get in bed with that. It's like, thank you. I would much rather have my, Superman and Batman and whatever on Netflix than to be in the Paramount system. Thank you very much. So it still doesn't necessarily affect AEW in any kind of direct way right now. And that is also not quite factored in the exact same way as some of the stuff that Netflix is buying. It's all going to make some changes, no matter what. I mean, look at the last time that the Warner Brothers thing happened, it was like even Bleacher Report felt that, budget cuts and everything. So something is going to change in that regard, but we still don't know what it is yet. And everything that they've talked about has been very much like pre-programmed stock answer corporate crap. Tony Khan gets asked about it and it's like, well, we have a really good relationship with Warner Brothers and we're really excited in the future to continue that. And if anything changes, then we'll be really excited for our new corporate overlords. And it's, he didn't say that exactly, but it's, as well. And it's just, it's BS. But, maybe if this leads to something in the future, maybe there are going to be some more AEW Dark specials or something. Surprised that they never aired anything with those Jericho cruises, to be honest. Would have thought that maybe they would have filmed something there. But
they did do, was it the first one that AEW was around for that they did Dynamite?
They did like one episode of Dynamite, I think, or one episode of Rampage or something.
The Rampage didn't exist at that point.
Oh, it didn't? Yeah.
No, because that was the night that Hangman and Omega won the tag titles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I thought that was that Hangman and Omega? I thought that was when
Or no, was that
SCU
Scorpio
won
Sky?
them.
No, I see you won it in the tournament earlier.
And
That was the first.
yeah, I guess
Yeah, that was the
true.
first ever title change. Yeah.
That's man, that was a long time. That feels like a long time ago because I just remembered Hangman was still wearing like the OG trunks and stuff. They should have run more at the Jericho Cruise, and I'm wondering if being apart from AEW, if they'll do more stuff at the Jericho Cruise, like just like okay, Jericho will air this on his own or whatever.
I mean, it depends on if he does go to WWE. Because if he goes there, they're not going to let him do anything like that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that like if he was to go to WWE, they would stop him from doing the cruise.
Right. Maybe they would let him like sponsor the cruise and like, you know how like Booker T's got his reality wrestling or something. Maybe they would let him do that, but they're not going to be like, you can do this and you can bring in talent from wherever. Like they'd probably have to get approval for everything. He probably would ask them for some NXT people, and they'd be like, "Here you go, you can take Hank and Tank, and you know whatever, one TNA person that we can spare, or you know."
I think they'd be too worried about something going wrong,
Probably,
or something like coming back to them because some PR incident. So yeah, I would be surprised if they'd let him do that.
the smartest thing would be to not tie into it and just be like, "We're washing our hands of this. We are not involved. We do not give you permission for that." God knows what they're up to on those cruises. Any cruises for that. I've never been on a cruise before, but all I've heard about it seems like it's like
Horror stories.
pretty much like horror stories. Either it's like, oh, everybody got food poisoning, or it's like, oh, this person got murdered and nobody knows where they are on the boat. Like, you know, really terrible shit. Seems, I don't know. So let's get into the NXT side of things. And there's a lot to break down in NXT, and it's funny enough because I was not at all anticipating to have some of these discussion points this week. And NXT starts, and it's Thea Hail against Blake Monroe for the Women's North American Championship. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, I can continue to work on cleaning up dinner and to, you know, just do whatever, because Thea Hail's going to lose in X amount of minutes. And, you know, we'll move on to whatever the next segment is, and then I'll just update the things. And I'm watching it at the time, actually, like, you know, actively watching it, and she flies backwards. She lands on Blake Monroe, and she gets the pin. And I'm looking like, and I'm like, what? Wait, no, that must have been one of those things where they're gonna say like her foot was on the rope or something, and I just missed out. I'm like, no, she's in the middle of the ring. So, okay, where are they going here? This botch later on basically confirmed to be a botch based off of some reports. Now you could always take that with a grain of salt.
It absolutely no. I'm not gonna let you do that here. Absolutely, this was not supposed to happen. Like it's been confirmed.
Well, normally you can take reports like that and go, "Hey, it might not be 100% for true," because we're gonna, you know, talk about something later on that every website other than Smark Moment was like, this is whatever, it's reported whatever, and I'm like, no. And then, you know, so you gotta always assume that there's a chance that the reports aren't necessarily true. But when Blake Monroe's got her taped up side, and when it went down the way that it did, it has to have been a botch. And it seems like what happened was Thea Hail landed in such a way that Blake Monroe just got like the wind knocked out of her and didn't get up in time, her shoulder. She came very close to getting it up in time. And the referee that was calling it counted to 3. No, that's a new champion. They went ahead and they played Blake Monroe's theme because they were ready for her to retain the title and everything. And I immediately had the reaction that I'm going to continue to have with this. I think that this is kind of a good thing. And it's not a good thing in the sense of, you know, if Blake Monroe is hurt, obviously that's not a good thing. But Thea Hail getting this title shot was already stupid. They did the terrible segment last week where they did the open challenge that wasn't an actual open challenge. And it was just a miserable, poorly booked setup. So this changes it. This completely then becomes the talking point is that Thea's the champion. It overtakes all the negatives when it comes to the other stuff beforehand. And I like Thea Hail. I think that she is somebody that they are stuck in a way not pushing because they think, most likely, well, she's so young, we'll just wait and wait and wait and wait. And she'll be in NXT for 7 years. And then we'll go, well, she's been in here forever, and then we don't care anymore. Because that happened with like Aaliyah, and that happened with some other people. I think Thea Hail is more than deserving of being the mid-card champion on NXT. So whether it happened through a botch or it happened through something that would be planned in a different scenario, she's champion now. They went with it. And they followed it up a little bit later on with Blake Monroe interrupting an interview where Thea Hail was just like, I don't know what to say. This is so crazy. I've been fighting for a championship, and I finally won one. And funny enough, they did better storytelling on the fly of having it be like, she just told Jordynne Grace last week that she has to stay positive and she will eventually win championships and things will turn around. And Thea's like, see, I told you, if you're just positive, you can win a championship. It's like, look at that. It's almost like if you don't have time to plan these things, you end up doing a better job than you do when you have it planned. And Blake Monroe's going to have a rematch at New Year's Evil. They've already said that for the spoilers of the tapings, which was pretty obvious that it was going to happen anyway. So I'm hoping that they don't just put the title right back on Blake, because I'd like to see what they do with this Thea thing.
Oh, I think that. Well, I'm someone who's not a fan of Thea Hail from any time that I've watched her. I find her incredibly annoying as an act, and so it's not like I'm. Well, I'm sorry, I'm having fun with it because it's this hilarious botch that's happened that, and has stuck to my thing of saying that the other referee should call it like a shoe, which he did.
Yeah, and right after having that discussion.
Yeah. And it's totally not his fault. And I know people, the idiots online will say the referee should be fired or suspended for doing that. But at the end of the day, it's the wrestler's job to either kick out of it or, in Thea Hail's case, because obviously the report coming out that Blake Monroe was winded, and so Thea Hail, I think people have put like clips together of showing that Blake Monroe is basically screaming, "Get off me! Get the fuck off me!" to Thea Hail as she's still laying on top of her, and that's leads some people saying like, oh, she went into business for herself and decided to, because she knew she wasn't winning the title, so decided to just stay on Blake, and it's Blake's job to kick out. Like, if not, I'm going to be the champion. So
that's so yeah, I can't imagine Thea Hail doing that. People are just like pissy.
I can't imagine anyone at the performance center doing that, but you can hear Blake saying, "Get off me!"
Yeah,
like
or something that sounds close to that.
Yeah. I think that, I'd say it could be interesting because they now have to think on the fly. Especially, I imagine that it's pissed a lot of people off because they probably had a lot of plans already set up. Apparently, the report's saying that like they had plans set up based around the fact that Thea Hail was not going to win this title, and her response to not winning the title was going to be part of the shows going forward. And now they have to completely change that because presumably you can't redo the same material of someone saying, "Oh, I'm never going to win a title," or "Is this my last chance? What am I going to do off the back of this?" to now, "Oh, you've actually won the title, and now you don't have any self-doubt or issues about this stuff." So, yeah, they'll have to figure out a way of doing it, which is good. They're usually at their best when they have their backs against the wall. But it probably, this close to Christmas and New Year, they probably think, oh, we could at least take it easy for a couple of weeks and just not have to worry too much about this. But now they're probably having to rewrite so much stuff right now and rethink how they're going to approach this. And it's probably, whether it's intentional or not, it probably is going to land both Blake and Thea in the doghouse a little bit. Because you could say, oh, it's a good thing for Thea Hail because now she gets to win a title and they have to do something with her. Well, yeah, what they have to do is they can have her drop the title and then never use her again because she fucked up here.
Hopefully that's not the case, yeah.
No, but they are a company that's, as I say, it might be different now, but I imagine under a Vince McMahon regime, she'd be done, I think, pretty soon. Or, like I say, not done. I don't think she'd just be immediately released and let go, but I don't think she would be trusted with this kind of situation again.
Either that, or there's plenty of scenarios where that kind of situation would pop up, and for some reason they would also blame Blake. And it's like, I don't think this is one of those things that you can really blame either of them. Like, it seemed like Thea did the move in a way that makes perfect sense. And if Blake didn't protect herself well enough, then, shit happens once in a while. People get injured and, somebody slips on a banana peel, whatever it might be. If it's a problem, like, I highly, highly, highly doubt it. But if there was something like Thea was like, no, I'm just not going to get off because I want to, win the championship. I want to whatever. Then, yeah, that's a major issue of just going against the script and stuff. But I kind of feel like this should be one of those things that they should just be like, look, shit happens once in a while and we fall ass backwards into things. Let's try to see if we can not even like, turn lemons into lemonade because it's a bad thing. It's a surprise title win with somebody that you've had for a while and all. It's a different story, I think, if you were to be like, oh crap, our 1,000-day plus title reign from Roman Reigns is getting screwed over because he can't get out of the handcuffs. And we're going to just pretend like Kevin Owens didn't win this match 30 seconds ago. Roll with it. Give Thea a quick title reign. If you need to have Blake win the championship back for whatever reason it is, then when she needs to win the title back, you put the title back on her. And then at that point, Thea's already got a boost of her thing. This might be the best thing for both of them because it could be that whole Blake Monroe wants to have that dark side to her. Maybe the dark side is the one that beats Thea. Then it's like, yeah, I know that I'm going to have to retain the title by being this like hardcore bitch going forward.
I think at the most, all they're going to do is say, hey, no more doing that springboard move where you put your full weight on somebody. Because that should be the only thing. If anything is taken away from Thea, it's that. Because otherwise, like, all she was doing was what she was told to do. She thought Blake would kick out. She just couldn't. And even then, she tried. You know what I mean? It's just the referee got to the 3 count like a millisecond beforehand.
I do like seeing the reactions to things like that, though, because you could see Thea being like, oh my God, what happened? What's happening? I don't know what to do. And you can see the referee being like, well, shit, I guess that's the new champion. And Blake being a little still out of it and whatever. And then, clearly the production truck person just had his finger over the Blake Monroe theme. And then like they went out of their way to, well, let's go to a commercial break. And when they came back, they're like, yeah, she's the new champion. So they endorsed it. They could have said something like, well, the referee upon review decided that she technically got her arm up. So we're going to do a rematch. And it's like, actually, Thea is not being declared the champion. On the fly, they decided, let's just go with it.
So let's just go with it. Thea won.
Yeah.
Thea won. They even played Blake's music after the match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were set for Blake to win, but I like it. I'm glad that she's able to say she's a North American champion. She's been there long enough. I'm not going to sit here and say she's like the best wrestler ever, but she's, done pretty well in NXT, made everything work that she's been given. She can have a short reign as the North American champion.
It's the mid-card title to the developmental brand. If she's not at that level yet after this amount of time that they can trust her for that, but they can give Maxine Dupree the Women's Intercontinental Championship on Monday Night Raw, then something's wrong.
That's a good way to put it.
After that, Ethan Page had an in-ring promo. Tony D'Angelo had attacked him last week, so he called him out. And it seems like what the story is with Tony D'Angelo here is Tony D'Angelo does something, and it immediately the next week leads into, never mind, we move on to something else, because this is actually not even going to factor into next week's show. So instead, Stax comes out with Ariana Grace. He wants more gold with his TNA International Championship and the Heritage Cup that he owns that he is not fucking showing on TV or doing anything with. But okay, let's just ignore that some more. And Moose comes out instead and says, yeah, you know what? I'm actually getting the title shot instead on December 17th. Or December 30th. So that's kind of weird because that ends up later on just being Stax and Ariana Grace booked in a match against Shiloh Hill and Skylar Ray. So they are tossing things around like crazy. And I was surprised about some of the things that happened on this episode. I was surprised that Hank and Tank beat OTM. I was surprised that they announced a new speed tournament. We already know who was going to be facing Jasper Troy based off of the spoilers and stuff. There was an announcement that Chelsea Green is going to face Sol Ruka and defend the United States Championship that she has. And they had the story going forward now with Tatum is that she's going to take out Nico Vance and she's going to take out Sean Spears. And then she's going to get around to Izzy Dame. Talk about that in a moment too. Lil Vice had a little backstage thing with Kalani Jordan about Kalani getting back into the locker room after being kicked out of it. And that is actually turning into an Izzy Dame and Lola Vice match instead because they had a brief thing there. And Leon Slater beat Dion Lennox, Miles Bourne, and Joe Hendry to win that New Year's Evil title shot, which I just assumed that it was going to be Dion Lennox. So I can only assume at this point they're saving the Lennox match for a pay-per-view because they didn't announce anything yet, but realistically, Vengeance Day is probably going to be happening around that time frame, beginning of February, somewhere around Valentine's Day. And the story with Dion Lennox and Obafemi is more of a story than it is with Leon Slater. So they probably just Slater, go out there, have a good match, lose, and have fun. I'm not opposed to it.
I've mentioned this before. The only way that Slater wins is they want him to be, hey, tune into TNA on AMC, everybody. But I think Slater's absolutely losing. It's very clear that they want him.
Yeah. it's like there's 5 people or whatever that they're like, can we borrow that TNA guy? Hey.
And then not give him back.
What a great WWE superstar that TNA guy is, isn't he? And it's like, that's not quite the same. You know what it kind of reminds me of, to go back to how often I repeat Simpsons jokes, is that thing where it's like Castro or fake Castro or whatever it was, and Mr. Burns, and he gets the $1 trillion bill and he's like, okay, can I just look at it? And he's like, yeah, you can look at it. Mr. Burns, come on, I can see it. You can trust me. Okay, now give it back. I'll give what back? I'm going to do that with Joe Hendry. They're going to do that with Leon Slater. Listen, TNA, Carlos, we're just borrowing Slater a little bit. Hey, can I have my champion back? Who are you talking about? The brand new NXT superstar Leon Slater? Slater's fun. That's cool. The future of TNA, most likely popping up in NXT next year. And we do have spoilers for the next episodes of NXT. So if you don't want to know what those are, then skip a little bit. I don't know when we're going to be done talking about it, but I don't have a separate graphic to put up on the screen. So earmuffs. I don't know. The December 23rd episode, here's your breakdown of that. Lola Vice beats Izzy Dame. Tatum Paxley apparently goes after Sean Spears with a chainsaw. So that might be fun to watch. And then Kalani Jordan jumps Lola Vice. Thea Hail has a promo, and it sets up the whole Blake Monroe rematch. The speed tournament between this episode and the 30th, Tavion Heights beats Eli Knight from Evolve. And Lexus King beats Andre Chase. And then Tavion Heights beats Lexus King. So at some point in the future, whether it's New Year's Evil or after that, Tavion Heights versus Jasper Troy for the Speed Championship. Javon Evans and Ricky Saints set up a match for the 30th, and Ricky Saints beats Javon Evans. Not at all surprising to hear about that. Chelsea retains the women's U.S. title over Sol Ruka. JC Jane beats Ren Sinclair. OTM beats Swipe Right. Joe Hendry has a concert. Dark State interferes, and Tony D'Angelo just quote-unquote watches from the shadows. So Tony D attacks Javon, and then the next week attacks Ethan Page, and then the next week does nothing, and then the week after that does nothing seemingly, and then the week after that watches a concert. And Ethan Page retains the North American title over Moose. So 2 weeks worth of episodes in the bag already. You don't got to watch NXT necessarily. But one thing that you don't know for sure is who wins the NXT Year-End Awards, because that is going to be broadcast on the 30th. And in the meantime, we know the nominees for everything, but we don't know who the winners are because they didn't record those segments in front of the crowd. So going through this, yeah, obviously, I know Callum's not watching NXT. I know the Rob's kind of in and out, but as far as our picks or, thoughts on these, the nominees for the best PLE/show of the year is, of course, everything that they had written down there, like the Showdown and Gold Rush TV specials. Then you got like No Mercy and Deadline, pay-per-views and stuff. I don't know which one that would be for me as the best. I know the Vengeance Day was one of the worst for me, so it's not going to be that one. But I could see people voting New Year's Evil because there was 2 title changes. I could see people going for Deadline because of recency bias. I think it's kind of, it is what it is. I don't think that one really matters all that much.
I liked the show at the Garden. What was it?
Gold Rush?
Roadblock. I liked Roadblock. In March, not this most recent
yeah. I don't remember off the top of my head what a lot of these were. Couldn't tell you, like, Battleground was so-and-so against so-and-so. I think that one was the Obafemi and Miles Bourne one. I don't remember Great American Bash. I don't remember Heat Wave as being like which one is which and which matches were great. This is a lot of confusion this year for NXT for me.
As I said on the end of the year awards, a lot of these shows went up against major AEW events, and that's not fair to the NXT roster, and no one's going to remember those shows.
Yeah. Match of the year candidates that they listed are the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge match, Obafemi versus Javon Evans from Heat Wave, Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page from Great American Bash, Kalani Jordan against Sol Ruka from Battleground, Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans triple threat match from Stand and Deliver, and then the No Mercy, Lola Vice, and JC Jane match. I honestly don't remember any of these being like, none of them were on my match of the year list. I know that.
So one that I actually remember being really good that's not here is Blake and Jordan in the cage.
Yeah, they didn't nominate that one. Yeah.
That's strange that that's not nominated. Given I'd say either the Javon Trick Oba match or the Women's Iron Survivor. But
I have a feeling one of those two are probably going to, yeah. Yeah, the fans vote sometimes in like the most obvious ways, and sometimes they pull something out. If this, of course, is true, always can potential that it might not be. Moment of the year options were the NXT TNA Brawl. Which one?
But yeah, what?
I'm assuming it's the one where Ricky Saints just doesn't get involved, and he's just like standing there while everybody else is fighting.
Yeah.
Blake Monroe's debut, Ricky Saints' debut, Tatum Paxley wins the NXT Women's title. Stephanie Vaquer becomes double champion. JC Jane beats Stephanie Vaquer. Stax turns on Tony D'Angelo. Trick Williams wins the TNA title. Joe Hendry appears out of nowhere. That's very specific. And the Hardy Boys win the NXT tag team titles. Probably thinking that the people are going to go with either Vaquer as double champion or maybe one of the debuts. But then again, I don't know. Maybe they pull out some like real big support for Paxley or something.
Did they say is Ricky Saints on there for his debut?
Yep, both he and Blake Monroe.
Because that might be my pick because that was so like, hey, they just took him off the page yesterday.
Good old Ricky Staines. Back when there was like a 2-week period where everybody's like, they're not calling him Starks.
Yeah, they made that real obvious. Like, wait, they're not saying his name.
Look who it is. You know who it is. It's him.
They did the same thing with Blake too. Where it's like, oh
she
my God,
is here. It's her.
She's here. Oh my God.
You know her name. Like, no, don't. You didn't tell us yet. The options for tag team of the year are the Hank and Tank, Belly Boys, Zaruka, Fatal Influence, aka Flatulence, the Culling, and Dark State, aka Dork State.
Really, Fraxium's not on there. When did Fraxium get called up?
Pretty early, I think, in the year, right?
They win.
Well, they're not even options.
They win in my mind.
It shouldn't be Hank and
honestly,
Tank. It shouldn't realistically be
Hank and
Saruka
Tank.
either, after they really didn't do much.
Then I say Dark State. They've been a team since February.
They've at least won the tag titles twice. But Fatal Influence has been, JC won the title twice and the TNA Knockouts Championship. Fallon Henley wins the Speed title. They got rid of Jasmine Nix and they replaced her with Lainey Reed. To some people, that's an upgrade. I think it's Fatal Influence. I was going to call them Flatulence again.
They're not flatulent. Stop calling them flatulent.
Now, if Natty was in the group, maybe a different story. The female superstar of the year options are Kalani Jordan, Tatum Paxley, Blake Monroe, Sol Ruka, and JC Jane. To me, it's JC Jane more than anybody else. Just from kayfabe perspective, but Sol Ruka, hell of a year.
I think it should go to JC. She held down the roster for the second half of the year.
And then the male superstar of the year options are Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, Trick Williams, Obafemi, and Javon Evans.
I'm going Obafemi.
It should realistically be Femi or Evans. But
I mean, Trick was mostly a TNA star this year.
He did accomplish a lot over there with that. So it's like he's worth being in the discussion. Ethan Page did win 2 championships this year. Ricky Saints won the title for a brief moment. And, I'd go Femi or Evans. Probably lean more towards Femi. But I could see people voting for Evans too. So they're going to release the winners of that on the 30th episode. And in the meantime, go ahead and vote. They got that option for you guys. So let's move over to AEW. Dynamite and Collision this week was Holiday Bash. And that started off with the setup of what, they recorded in a way that was it was pretty interesting. They did the 3-hour show, but 1 hour of the show was apparently not recorded in the same way. And, they did 2 things ahead of time on the taping of Wheeler Yuta and Nigel McGuinness in an open challenge. There was also a dark match with Hook and Serpentico. I don't know if they are airing that in any other kind of capacity, but we got some movement in the Continental Classic. The Blue League, John Moxley beats Roderick Strong, and Orange Cassidy beats Mascara Dorada. Gold League has Pac beating Kyle Fletcher. So they are in a spot now where some people are pretty close to being mathematically ruled out. I think at this point, Roderick Strong is. Because he's had no wins. Yeah, no wins and 3 losses. So even if he were to win the next 2 matches, all he could do is tie for what is effectively 3rd place. Because Claudio and Konosuke Takeshita have 7 points with that draw. Yeah, no matter what, it's either them or it's somebody else that has, Orange Cassidy's got 6 points. If he wins the next couple matches, he can overtake them. But
yeah, so Roddy's out. As I say, there's some decent matches, as there has always been with these Continental Classic matches. And there's I think that's obviously got to be fun to see Orange Cassidy and Mascara Dorada mix it up. And I think Pac vs Fletcher was as good as you'd expect it to be. Moxley winning. As Moxley's beating the people that I would anticipate him beating, the also-rans, like Roderick Strong and Mascara Dorada were there mostly to eat pinfalls throughout the event. You had Mascara Dorada get the victory over Claudio as his little, that's his big win of the entire event, but they were going to lose against most people they would face. So it does set it up nicely. There's 4 guys on the Blue League that are definitely in contention. don't know where that one's going to go. And on the Gold League, it's very, very close, especially after what happens on the well, don't know if we're getting spoilers just yet, but what happens on the remaining collision for Holiday Bash.
And the Continental Classic has the Gold League side of it too, with the points being a little bit different. It's not like it's somebody's fully mathematically written out yet, but Jack Perry's got 0 points right now, so it's like the likelihood that he's going to win enough to counterbalance that probably pretty low. But most of the other people are pretty much tied. Speedball's got 6, Fletcher's got 6, Okada's got 6, Pac does as well. Kevin Knight's trailing with 3, so more than likely Kevin Knight's out of the mix there for that. But these aren't too shocking results either, because there were really, only a few people. Like, realistically, it wasn't going to be Speedball against Roderick Strong in the finals. It's going to revolve around Okada. It's going to revolve around, Takeshita, and then the 2 other people that you can have them against each other, Whether that's Takeshita gets to the finals against Okada, or if it ends up being one of the taken out ahead of time. I was not anticipating it to be anything other than kind of what we've been going on with, but you got to keep it interesting, and they're doing that. They're mixing up some wins and some losses here. I like it. And I think that the next 2 matches that they're going to do, if I remember correctly, are 2 more in the Blue League. But I don't remember 100% for sure. Let me double check. It was it's Kevin Knight against Okada, and then Bailey against Perry. I'm totally wrong. It's 2 Gold League ones.
Yeah, which they have already recorded, so we know what the results are.
Oh, they did those already?
Well, it was on Collision. It was recorded on the same day. It's the Collision that's taking place on Saturday.
Well, I thought that they didn't do that yet, because the one on Saturday is.
Christmas Collision. Yeah, but it has been filmed because it was recorded on the same day.
Oh, see, I didn't actually find that information. Huh? Who won those?
Oh, well, so on the Collision Holiday Bash, so these were all filmed after the Manchester thing. The reason why they've done like an hour of Collision is because they only have an hour's capacity to do on Saturday because of a college football game, so they're only going to show an hour of it. But in the other Gold League matches, they had Jack Perry defeat Speedball Mike Bailey. He's now on 3 points and Speedball's still on 6. And then, in probably the shock of the entire tournament so far, they had Kevin Knight beat Kazuchika Okada.
Wow. Oh, really?
Yep, so that means there's 5 people all on 6 points with 1 match left to go for everyone. Perry's probably out. He's pretty much eliminated, yeah. But the other 5, yeah, and it's going to be funny as well because it's all going to depend on... You could only realistically have 2 of them finish on 9 points. So you probably have to have Perry... So if I was looking at that, the final matches are Jack Perry versus Carl Fletcher, Pac versus Kevin Knight, and Okada versus Mike Bailey. So I think it's obvious that Okada's going to beat Bailey. I don't think there's any real doubt about that one. The other 2 is quite interesting, though, because if you only want one person to finish on 9 points along with Okada... then you need to have Jack Perry beat Carl Fletcher. And then you would have either Kevin Knight or Pac would be the person that finishes on 9 points. If not, then you could end with a situation where you have Okada, Fletcher, and Pac, or Knight, all end on 9 points. Or you could have a tie. I guess you could have a draw between Pac and Kevin Knight, and then there wouldn't be that much of an issue. But it means there's a lot of permutations, and they've set it up quite nicely where every single match really matters to at least one of the competitors.
I like it. It's been a fun tournament this year. Lots of surprising matches, lots of good matches, and I still think we're going towards the same ending we've all been predicting since before the tournament started. But it's been a fun way to get there.
Some other things that went down. The Elite got that $1 million. Good for them.
I didn't watch.
Yeah, it's a fun match. Yeah.
I didn't watch. Did they come out to carry on my wayward son?
No, the Bucks did their entrance with the being in the Elite theme, and then Omega came out to do his entrance, and then they just came out with to Omega's entrance.
We had a contract signing. Go ahead.
Also, it was a fun match. It was nice to see them or like back together. As Rob said, this should be like the Elite should never split up again. Just right out into the sunset as a trio. You don't always have to be together or as closely linked as a trio, but there's no point in turning heel again at this point.
Yeah, they really shouldn't, because I can't imagine that story has a whole set of legs to it. They've done it 3 times now in one way or another.
They've done it a lot just in AEW, let alone prior to it. So yeah. I'm good.
Contract signing after that was setting up the 3-way that we have for World's End, which now is a 4-way because Samoa Joe, Hangman Adam Page, and Swerve Strickland also have to worry about MJF, who has returned. He has executed his contract from the Casino Gauntlet title shot and put himself in the match. So now I have no idea where they're going, because this also leads into what happened with the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. And that was down to Ricochet and Bandito. So those two will go up against each other on the Dynamite on 34th Street. That's going to be recording tomorrow. And I think it's recording tomorrow and airing still on Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So I'll try to get some spoilers on that for that. But that means Ricochet or Bandito at Maximum Carnage goes up against whoever is the champion, whether it's Samoa Joe, whether it's MJF now, maybe it's Page, maybe it's Strickland. And there's no obvious route that I can see being like, it's going to be this person versus that person. So, it can't be anything else. But I'm kind of thinking that the most obvious thing would probably be just Joe retains and he goes up against Bandito. Ricochet strikes me more as the Dynamite Diamond ring guy, though. And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's Ricochet up against MJF. Maybe it's Ricochet against Page. Maybe Strickland wins the title. And maybe, I don't know. This changed so much of the dynamic for me because I was just going, all right, Joe's going to retain. Well, MJF and the Ricochet and Bandito thing, I don't know now.
It is quite interesting. I think that having MJF use his contract opportunity to insert himself into an already triple threat match to make it a 4-way doesn't really, on the surface, doesn't fit into his MO. But obviously, he can't just cash in at any random point because of Tony Khan's ruling about that. But he made sense with his promo where he talked about, well, these are 3 guys that I absolutely hate who have taken things from me, so this is my opportunity to get revenge on all 3 of you in one go. So I think that it does make the match more interesting and more unpredictable because there is definitely a scenario where I could see all 4 guys winning the title depending on what direction they want to go. I could see it like branch because it makes it feel obvious that MJF came back and so he's inserted himself into this, so it feels like, well, he must win the title then. But he could lose and have that spiral off into a feud with any of the guys, realistically, but probably more likely either Page or Swerve off the back of this, if he doesn't get the victory. And then I think there's a good chance that Page could win the title back. The one that I'm least leaning towards at the moment is Swerve, but all of them still have a chance of winning the title. With the Dynamite Diamond Ring, I think that they're going to use it to give Bandito a title shot. And because of the work that he's done so far this year, and I think he's got a lot of momentum going right now. Like Ricochet's already a champion; he's already holding that national title. So I don't think that he necessarily needs to win this as well. I do agree that obviously the Dynamite ring in its previous usage has always been a heel gimmick, but I think they could just do a year's worth of stuff where it's just Bandito comes out wearing the ring. And that's just a reminder that he's holding it until the next time the Battle Royal comes around. So maybe they could do with a year of pushing it away from the heel stick that it's become used to. But I see Bandito winning that, so it probably leans towards either MJF or Joe retaining the title. But if you have a babyface win the Diamond Ring and they get the title shot, then you can just have a babyface versus babyface match. It's not as weird as a heel versus heel match would be.
I mean, it's weird enough already that MJF isn't going to be with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So if you're going to change it up, you might as well change it up a lot, if you really want to.
They should have declared that he was giving up the ring or something. It's very strange when that's been a central part of his persona. Unless, because I do think he's winning. Maybe it's him versus Ricochet, and listen, Baldy, I'll give you your title shot, but you got to put the ring on the line. And you just give him back the ring.
Could be that. Yeah. It's title for ring type of thing.
I didn't need
this promo.
I think it's the promos overall was good. I think that it's like you got a good reaction from the crowd, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters really. But I didn't need the Diddy reference. I didn't need the crowd, the WWE crowd chanting "We want Vince" after the Saturday Night's main event finished, then followed by a promo that mentioned Diddy in the same week. I think we need to move away from that sort of low hanging fruit. But overall, it's an MJF promo. They're usually good. I can understand why some people are tired of it, but it doesn't irk me the way that he does. He approaches promos.
I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. Whenever these spoiler things come out, I'm not planning on watching SmackDown tonight because we know the spoilers. I would very easily take the breaks from watching wrestling when I have the opportunity to. So I didn't see the promo. I heard some people upset about the Diddy thing, which when I was doing the spoilers, that wasn't specifically mentioned. But yeah, I can't imagine that I would be super feeling one way or another about it. The fact that MJF popped up at all was to me okay, wow, that's surprising because I didn't see him doing anything with that. I figured if he did show up, it would be about something with the Dynamite Diamond ring. So,
well, we knew he would be factored into World's End, and I think this is actually a very appropriate way to do it. And I definitely think Joe's going to be a 1 month champion. No matter who wins, I think Joe's losing.
I don't know. I'm probably not going to make a decision about who I really think is going to win until we get to our predictions, which we're probably going to loop into the post show, or not into the post show, into the hot tags.
We're going to give you our predictions
and the post show right at the same time. Yeah, that'd be pretty great if we could pull that off. It's immediately know exactly what's going to happen, and then just yeah. So I mean, we'll talk about that next week when we get into the actual full blown predictions for the World's End show. But Thea, Marina Shafir, Mercedes Moné, and Megan Bayne beat Timeless Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Harley Cameron, and Willow Nightingale. And that is leading into a match where Athena and Mercedes Moné are going to challenge for the tag team titles at World's End. So they're going to get an opportunity to win those, even though they failed in the tournament, which to me just strikes me as all right, they lose and it's just a match for the Babes of Wrath. Why not?
It's not just they lose. Regardless of who scores the pinfall here, a major match is set up because either you have Athena's next challenger for her over 1,000-day reign as RH Women's Champion, or you've got potentially the woman who could beat Mercedes for the TBS title, which she has not defended at 2 straight pay-per-views now.
Also, I will say that this is a match that is a demonstration of a rule that I think should just be commonplace across all wrestling promotions: is if a champion gets pinned, their titles, the person that pins them get a shot to their title, regardless of any situation. Mercedes pinned Willow, so she gets a shot at the tag team titles.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's on an episode of Dynamite or if it's a pay-per-view or something, makes sense.
Yeah. In any situation, if a champion gets pinned, the person that pinned them should have a shot at their title. That should just be common sense across the board, I think, in all of wrestling. I know New Japan does it, sticks to that very rigidly. I think it should be just commonplace everywhere. So, and it means that Mercedes still gets on the pay-per-view, still gets to have a match. Athena gets to be on the show as well, but it means that the TBS title's not being defended. But that wasn't the only thing, because obviously you wouldn't know this as well, because this took place on the other episode of Collision that hasn't been recorded yet, I presume. About what happened with Mercedes on that episode, which is she is no longer the Rev Pro Women's Champion.
Really?
she was defeated by Alex Windsor.
I would say that sounds like a Windsor victory. Okay.
Yep.
So she's it's all falling apart.
Exactly, as we all predicted it to. This is the slow decline of her dropping those championships. Admittedly, we don't know how many of those titles she's going to drop, because I imagine that some of those promoters probably don't want to lose Mercedes as their champion just yet, because, you know, they're smaller. Like, I think one of the titles she has is for a promotion based in Italy, so I don't know necessarily they want to have her drop the title just yet. But they are pushing the idea that she stretched herself too thin and is now starting to, like, lose her focus and lose the titles. So she's already dropped the Ring of Honor Television Championship. She's now dropped the Rev Pro title. So yeah, we're now seeing the break part of the 12 belts Monet, now 11 belts Monet, and it's probably within the next month or two, 10 belts, and so on and so forth.
At some point, some of those belts are not even real belts. Like, yeah, the Owen Hart Cup.
She's going to lose the Owen by May.
Yeah, they won't use that, yeah, so
they can
she might be in the tournament and lose it, so then she'll have to let go of that title. Maybe she comes in and she's still wearing the title.
Which belt did you say she lost? The Rev Pro?
The Rev Pro, yeah, British.
She's lost 2 belts.
So that's also the British or something or other, right?
The South Underground champion or something, like.
Yeah, they were kind of connected together as part of it. So yeah, because Windsor was celebrating with 2 titles. So
Windsor,
not a fan.
So,
I love Alex Windsor. I don't know what's wrong with you. What's wrong with you? Not
even a fan of the Windsor thing. Yeah, listen to the end of the year awards, everybody. You'll hear me complain about it. Jimmy Hayter beat Isla Dawn on this show too, and she's going to get that match against Chris Statlander at World's End, so we'll talk about that with our predictions too, although I'll spoil it. Stat retains. NFTR retained over Bang Bang Gang. One of the more fun ones to say. Bang Bang Gang.
Yeah,
let's hear it. Where's Jay White? Give me Jay White by the first Dynamite 2026, please.
Well, if he's healthy, then yeah, maybe. But...
Listen, all of my favorites are down. Not having a good time here.
So we also have spoilers for this episode of SmackDown tonight. Not to toot my own horn, but the only friggin' person on the entire internet again that was going, guys, this doesn't make sense to be the 26th episode. And then you got other people, people that are quote unquote have more sources than I do and stuff being like, this 26. And it's like, I don't know. It's a little stupid for them to record the episode that's going to air on the 26th before the 19th episode goes down. And it's also pretty stupid if you look at what's going on, that any of these things immediately follow up from last week's episode. And then instead of, you wouldn't announce Wyatt 6 versus MFTs for the tag titles next week and then record a match that happens 2 weeks from now and all this. I'm like, this is for the 19th. So we know what's going to happen on SmackDown tonight before it airs. And here's your other spoiler warning for this. Not that it's anything actually all that interesting, because this seems like such an incredibly, bland filler show. Damian Priest cuts a promo, talks about the Terror Twins, gets attacked. Seemingly gets attacked twice, according to the reports, that they come out, Aleister Black and Zelina come out during his promo, and then that there's a backstage segment a little bit later on. Although I think that could be something that's just kind of like erroneously reported. Maybe it's not necessarily one segment and then another. It might just be one. I don't know. Lash Legend and Nia Jax beat the Kabuki Warriors. Bliss and Flair come out afterward and stand tall with everybody. They have a couple backstage promos that lead into some matches like, Lash and Nia. Then there's a backstage promo with Julia that leads into a match with Alba Fire, which Julia wins. She's on her quest to win back the Women's United States Championships. So that makes sense. Ilya and Carmelo Hayes beat Gargano and Ciampa. So we're continuing the whole Dragunov and Ciampa feud more than anything else. And the Wyatt Six and the MFTs fought to a no contest. Apparently Cody's on the show. I don't know what he did. Kind of seems like if he cut a promo that nobody really paid any attention to it on the spoiler side of things, but courtesy of Body Slam, they were the ones first off to report these, so I'm going to be trying to check them up later on. Hopefully they get the spoilers for next week's episode of SmackDown, because I would love to be able to just skip over that one too. Yeah, the more that I can skip, the better. Doesn't seem like it's all that great.
They did an angle where he apparently beat up Drew McIntyre at his house.
Ah, so that's what it was.
Socials. So maybe it's going to be like a pre-tape interview where he's like getting scolded or explaining his actions.
It's like a backstage thing with Nick Aldis or something. Well, they did say that Aldis was going to go to McIntyre's house to like sign a contract thing or something.
Yeah,
so,
they did. Yeah. They did that, and
that makes sense.
And Cody beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. The only other topic I got written down is actually something that's AAA related, and that's AAA's next show that's happening on Saturday night. Starts at 9:00. It's on YouTube for anybody that's curious to watch this thing. And of course, we're not like super duper invested into AAA, but Guerra de Titanes, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce that correctly. Probably not. I'm sure that it needs some kind of flair to it. But the 7 or so matches that are announced for that are not actually all that, outside of the norm for these AAA shows for the most part. It seems like it's going to be a fine enough show. The World Cruiserweight Championship is up for grabs. Laredo Kid is up against Jack Cartwheel from Evolve, or I guess technically from ID. I think he's an ID guy. Yeah. And Javon Evans is also in the mix there too. I'm assuming Laredo Kid probably just retains, probably beats Jack Cartwheel. Evans loses yet another title shot. The difference between Javon Evans and Jordan Grace, though, is Javon Evans wins some important matches when he needs to. Jordan Grace loses all the time. Every match.
I think Jordan Grace won one important match, and that's when she beat Blake. But she's had way too many this year that she's lost.
Yeah. And she also loses the matches in a way that doesn't even make it seem like she was just about to win. Like, Javon has had many instances about being... the only reason Obafemi won the Iron Survivor Challenge last year was because Javon was like 3 seconds away. Or, the only reason Javon's not champion right now is because Ricky Saints. Meanwhile, Jordan just loses. So, Laredo Kid retaining most likely. We got Dragon Lee against El Hijo del Vikingo. I'm assuming Vikingo wins. He's a heel now, right?
Yeah, he is a heel now.
So that kind of goes into this Dominic Mysterio and El Grande Americano against Rey Fenix and Rey Mysterio match, because I fully expect Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio to be announced for something in the future. March 14th is the next show that they seemingly are going to really like actually air as like a big special like this. That's the Rey de Reyes match or pay-per-view. So I'm anticipating Rey and Rey beat Dom and El Grande Americano, and then we get the, now I won a title shot, and it's going to happen in March thing. So I also kind of think that Vikingo is going to be the guy that beats Rey Mysterio for that title.
Yes.
Isn't it supposed to be Penta and Rey Fenix?
Lucha Bros,
Penta's hurt. Penta's hurt. He got shoot hurt, and after that Hurricanrana on Solo.
So I think if it would have been the Lucha Bros, Dom and El Grande Americano would have just won. But now that Rey is in there, they still could win. They still just been Phoenix or something too. But Rey's getting a match against Dom. He doesn't necessarily have to beat Dom, but I think that he will. My son Dom. It's time to do it. I can't talk about Dom without saying it at some point. There was I don't know where this came from originally, but there was somebody in the crowd this week that had a logo that was the Pringles logo, but it was made to look like Dom. It was great.
I like that.
I saved a picture of it because it's like it's out on some things, but I'll send it to you guys in the our Facebook chat so you can see what I'm talking about, because this is like one of the better little designs that I've seen in a little while. Hello, you can copy and paste. Come on, let's go Firefox. There we go. And it's like, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, I like that.
Dom's the gift that keeps on giving. There was also scheduled for the show. We've got the 6-woman tag match. Las Toxicas, Maravilla, La Hydra, and I always forget. Is it Flammer or is it Flamer? Or Flamer? Flamer. They're up against Fabi Apache, Natalia, and Lola Vice. Flip a coin. I don't know.
You sound very invested.
Well, that and the Fatal 4-Way tag team match, I just have nothing to base this off of. So it's like you go with the 3 WWE or the 2 WWE people and Fabi Apache, or you go with the 3 other ones. Probably go with the Las Toxicas. And then the 4-way tag thing, you got Mr. Iguana and Nino Hamburguesa, La Parca and Octagon Jr., Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, and Bravo and Rayo Americano. So that's, again, I don't know. You go with maybe Iguana and Hamburguesa. Maybe you go with Parca and Pentagon. But the Carnival of Carnage match should realistically go to the Clowns. Pagano and Los Psycho Circus are up against the Wyatt Six. Now, Wyatt Six, of course, are the tag team champions. They are the WWE people, so maybe they give them the win. But if you're going to call it Carnival of Carnage, you should give the match to the Clowns.
And as we all know from the years of this podcast, you associate everything on screen with Bray Wyatt to be clowns. So you're thinking the Wyatt Six man.
With the Clowns? Bray Wyatt?
Yeah, I'm saying you don't like anything that's ever been associated with Wyatt.
I mean, I also don't like clowns. Which is funny because my favorite villain of all time in any kind of media ever is the Joker. But,
he's a different kind of clown.
Yeah.
The Wyatts are winning here, especially because it's all of them actually wrestling at once.
And for that matter, I really like the song Send in the Clowns. Pagliacci, that's a hell of a song. Yeah.
I think the only way you'd have the Wyatt Six lose that match is if you have the MFTs get involved to screw them out of
That's
it.
basically what I think. Yeah. Because, I mean, we do know, based off of tonight's episode, that feud's not over. So probably the MFTs come out, they attack, and then, Pagano gets a pin on Gacy or somebody.
Honestly, they should just get involved and there should be more carnage.
Why not? Yeah.
I want to see 12 people beat the shit out of each other. That sounds like fun to me.
It's funny looking at this group, though, because it's like the Wyatt Six already sounds enough of a weird name group, because it's like the Wyatt Six, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan, Uncle Howdy, and Nikki Cross. And then you go up against Pagano or whatever, Psycho Clown, Murder Clown, Dave the Clown, and Panic Clown. ChatGPT, write this. The only other match on the show is the Latin American Championship. El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. against Ethan Page. And I don't anticipate Page wins that belt.
Page is going to win that belt.
Completely the opposite.
All right, if I just scrolling through this real quick, I've been thinking Ethan Page wins. Probably Mysterio and Phoenix beat Dom and Americano. The Los Americanos tag match is a toss-up, but maybe Iguana because they seem to like him. Wyatt should win Carnival of Carnage. Dragon Lee versus Vikingo. Probably Laredo Kid just retains. Maybe pins Jack Cartwheel. And I'm going to say the Natty team wins.
So that's going to be happening tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
We'll be here at 10 o'clock or at 11 o'clock with a review podcast, right, Tony?
Yeah, I don't plan on doing a post show.
Right, Tony?
And then the last hot tag I got to talk about on here is New Japan Pro Wrestling has, I guess you said like they pretty much solidified the card for Wrestle Kingdom 20. And yeah. I mean, for an outsider's perspective, doesn't look that great to me. to be honest. There's been years where, New Japan's put out a show and it's been like, I actually want to try to go out of my way to start watching this at 3 a.m. or whatever it is. This does not seem like this is going to be one of those years I'm going to really care. I actually don't think I've ever even heard of about a quarter of these guys. Like, I don't know Kaisei Takechi. I don't know who was the other name that was just like to pop in my mind. I don't know Aaron Wolf.
I mean, Kaisei Takechi and Aaron Wolf are both very new.
Okay,
Kaisei
so that
Takechi
makes sense then.
Kaisei Takechi is a J-pop guy.
Huh.
But he's also signed with DDT Pro Wrestling. So, and that's part of that big whole 6-man Rambo thing they're going to do, which is basically just like a gauntlet of teams trying to win the title.
So it's a 6-man Rambo? It's not going to be like the Royal Rumble type thing?
No, it'll be a 6-man. They've done this occasionally where it's like they sometimes switch between two of them and doing the Royal Rumble approach. But this time they're going with like a 6-man tag team gauntlet match. So it'll just be champions may not necessarily start it, but it's just who survives, who wins the match the longest. The 6-man matches will probably go about 3 to 5 minutes each, probably, if anything.
You got any picks there for that? You think it's going to be anybody in particular?
It's too difficult to say without knowing what teams are going to be involved in it. And also, there's so many people that are not on this card because the card is pretty small that it's like pretty impossible to determine who it might be.
The winner-takes-all match. There's 2 winner-takes-all matches, actually, I should say, for this. For the IWGP Women's Championship and the Strong Women's Championship, Syuri against Saya Kamitani. I don't think I've ever... Kamitani is somebody I'm not familiar with. Syuri's a name I've heard, but not familiar with her.
So Saya Kamitani is the main champion over in Stardom, as well as the current Strong Women's Champion. Also won essentially Tokyo Sports Wrestler of the Year award, ahead of anybody from New Japan or Noah or All Japan. Like, she's the top wrestler in Japan right now.
And for those reasons, I think she'll win here.
I think she probably will, but like there is a chance that because she obviously has a lot of commitments over with Stardom as well, and she is technically defending her title against, I believe it's Soriano on a show in late December, so she might not be the main champion going into this anyway. But so yeah, I think it largely depends on that. If she loses the red title, then I think that she'll win this match, so she can be a prominent person with the IWGP title. If she's still the World of Stardom champion, then I think that she might lose this and they'll give it to Shuri instead.
We got the 10-man tag match. Bullet Club War Dogs against Shigo Takagi and Hiromu Takahashi. You got a United Empire in there. Oh, wait, no, they're teaming up with that. I'm reading this wrong.
Yeah.
Bullet Club War Dogs and Shigo Takagi and Hiromu Takahashi against the United Empire. 2 of the United Empire team are just listed as TBA.
Yes, I assume they'll be 2 debutants or 2 new people that are coming from, presumably, considering the United Empire's usual affiliation of talent, it'll be someone probably from the UK scene. But I have no idea who that might be.
There are, like you said, there's a lot of people not listed on this card that I would assume would have been on here.
Like, because the idea is they're keeping it short. We'll discuss it when we get to it. But it's obviously for the Tanahashi thing, but they're keeping a lot of it as even somewhat of a surprise. Because at the end of the day, and this, I'm not saying they should necessarily approach it this way, but this is a 1-match card realistically. So everything else is just there for filler for the most part.
I know everybody is interested in Evil versus Aaron Wolf. That's the 1-match card, right?
Aaron Wolf should win. He's an Olympian, but put the new guy over. That's my whole thing in 2026. Gonna have no analysis. My entire ideal is just gonna be put the new guy over.
So he was
I got an ideal.
So he won a gold medal in judo at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and so he's been he recently joined. He signed for New Japan in June, and so has been working like behind the scenes. He hasn't had a match yet. This will be his first ever wrestling match. So I guess it totally depends on how good he is, whether he should drop the title, whether he should win the title or not. Like I would say, I'm all for pushing young talent over guys that have just been hanging around for too long, like Evil. But you have to actually be good. Like he needs to be able to prove himself by actually having a good match here.
Now, as far as like the putting the belt on him, you think that that's like maybe too much of a step, or?
But it's only the never openweight championship. It's not like he's been given the world title yet. But I'd say it's hard. You can't predict it because I've never seen him wrestle. No one has ever seen him wrestle, so we have no idea how good he is, and whether it's too far of a step or not.
Yeah, Desperado versus Kosei Fujita and Taiji Ishimura and Sho for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship 4-way match.
Nope. For the number one contendership for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship.
Well, there you go. That makes sense why nobody's listed as by the champion.
Yeah, so the current champion is Dookie. So he's not defending the title on this show. I think they'll be defending it on the New Year's Dash show.
Is that announced yet? Because it's like implied, right? But like, I don't see anything about it.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's where they're doing the World Tag Team Title match. They're not doing it on this show. They're doing it on that show instead. Where it's I believe it's I can't remember the name of the current champions because they're fairly new and I'm not super familiar with them.
So there's a lot of discussion about whether they're going to do that Wrestle Dynasty thing again, and like obviously at this point they would have announced that they would have been building to it, So
I think it's going to happen in Arena Mexico.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be. Obviously, it won't be in 2 weeks, but I think it'll be later in the year at Arena Mexico.
Yeah, they'll do a similar thing. Yeah, I think after the success of their previous one. So yeah, so it's the tag title match at New Year Dash is going to be I can't remember the name of their team, but it's Oscar and Yuto and Ice, which are like they joined very late, like mid last year, so they're fairly new as a team, and they're taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Rohei Oiwa for the TMDK. So that's the tag title match, but they can't do it on this show because they're trying to keep it concise.
I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. is one of the main ones that I was just like, how is he not on this card?
Yeah, I would say he may be in the 6-man Rambo in some fashion, but we won't know until that match takes place.
And you got the two major like headlining matches more than anything else, of course. Konosuke Takeshita going in as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Yota Tsuji going in as the IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion, because that's somehow different, and a winner takes all match. So, Rob, you made a good point coming out of this. Is the winner the World Global Champion? Is do they just like are they Globetrotters, or like what's happening with the world and the global thing? That's why you don't name these things shit like that, because then you end up having this kind of a problem.
I mainly specifically said that, just like you did on the last podcast where you mentioned that young up-and-comer LA Knight, just to get me going. I just said that to get you going. Like
it works, because I think this is so stupid they call it the Global Championship. I hope that they actually I mean, I'm not invested in it. New Japan's not something that I'm like watching on, in any kind of capacity for the most part. But like, just in theory, I hope they just get rid of that global title, because you should not have those names.
In theory.
Well, that's like if they get rid of that title, they don't have a secondary champion anymore, like at all.
They got rid of the Intercontinental. They got rid of the United States. Yeah.
If the whole gimmick is Yota Tsuji's going to bring back the old design, are they so desperate where they'll just be like, and we're resurrecting the Intercontinental title? We did it.
Yeah, but I was quite interested in this one as well, because obviously they've been bumped from the main events spot, which is rightly so, because they didn't earn the crowd for this show. Tanahashi did. So I think that it puts less pressure on them, and it also means that there's probably less of a fanfare associated with it. I mean, I mentioned how Sai Kamatani won that Tokyo Sports like Rest of the Year. She won it with like 15 votes from the panel. Guess how many votes Takeshita got when he was nominated for it?
No idea.
Couldn't hazard a guess.
It was 0. He got 0 votes for even though he was one of only 6 nominees, he didn't get a single vote from anybody to win Wrestler of the Year. And that's just an indication of how he's perceived in Japan right now. He's an AEW guy, and yes, he's obviously Japanese, and has wrestled semi-frequently for New Japan, especially obviously through the G1 Climax. But since he's won the title, he's barely done anything with it. I think he's had one title defense, and yeah, he's seen as an outsider, so he doesn't. So he's not got a lot of positive reputation, which is quite funny when AEW is clearly positioning him for a big babyface push. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's hated in New Japan, but he's definitely not liked. I think their most part they're quite indifferent to him. So, I mean, for the sake of the company, putting the title on a guy like Yota Tsuji, who I still have qualms with in terms of his overall ability, but is, a fully fledged New Japan guy, is probably the better move. So, I think they probably will end up putting the title on Tsuji.
Do you think that this has anything to do with what's going to end up happening at World's End? Because, I mean, the other person that's in the main event, Kazuchika Okada, in the retirement match with Hiroshi Tanahashi. So, if you want to do something along the lines of, like, maybe Takeshita beats Okada for the Continental Championship, maybe he loses to Okada, and then there's a feud between Okada and Takeshita for the World/Global title, or,
Well, it could be quite funny, because there is potential if you have Okada beat Tanahashi. It's weird because, like, in a normal Wrestle Kingdom main event, you'd have the person wins the main event, and then it's the next person comes, because it would usually be for the world title. The next person comes out and challenges them, and we find out who the next challenger is going to be. But in this situation, the world title match is happening beforehand, so presumably someone is going to come out to challenge whoever wins both titles at the end of the show. I have no idea who that might be. Maybe a David Finlay or someone of that ilk, or Shingo Takagi or someone.
Aaron Wolf, he's going for a second title.
Oh no, that's the worry. Like, if Aaron Wolf wins, it's almost certainly going to be Eagle that comes out and challenges for the title instead, which no one wants. But yeah, so that means that we're going to get that moment here, which means it can't be anything to do with Okada, because Okada's in the main event. So, whereas in another circumstance, it could be a case if you have Okada beat Tanahashi, then you have Takeshita come out. Takeshita's holding both those titles, and Okada's still the Continental Champion and still the Unified Champion as a result. Then basically you could have a building towards a match where it's Takeshita putting the World and Global Championship against Okada's International and Continental Championship in a big 2-man 4-title match.
Jesus. And then it'll be like, yeah, they're all merged. But by merged, we mean they're going to keep them separate. We'll just continue that. But
yeah, I think it'll just be... I think Tsuji will just win, and then he'll have a challenger come out afterwards, and they'll just draw the line there. And I don't think the result of the Takeshita Okada match has any bearing on it.
Do you think that Takeshita is going to win? Or do you think that Tanahashi is going to win between him and Okada?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is he going to tap out with a smile?
Listen, I learned a lesson.
Is Gunther going to come in and be like, screw you, Tanahashi?
That'd be great. We have to take it at face value that, like, everyone is here just to see Tanahashi. But I don't think... We're not going to get one of those situations where if Tanahashi was to lose to Okada, that the crowd is just going to start chanting for Vince McMahon to come out. But I think that people respect both Tanahashi and Okada enough to know that they're just there to have as great a match as they possibly can have at this stage in Tanahashi's career, and tell their story the way they want to tell it. I think they will have Tanahashi win, because at the end of the day, there is nothing riding on this. Like, I know Okada's might go into this match holding titles, but it's not like Tanahashi will say, "Oh, I just beat you. Now I need to have another match for your titles because I beat." So, but I think that it would just be a way to just send the crowd not home happy, but to feel complete about it and say, "Wow, we got to see Tanahashi win one last time. Got to hear his entrance music and the play in him being in victory." I don't think it hurts Okada at all to lose this. I think I go into this with a lot of doubts about which one is actually going to win, because based on just anything that goes with pro wrestling, it should and probably would be Okada. But I think Tanahashi is just a very special exception because he was the forefather of the greatest period in New Japan's history. So I think that it's one of those instances where I think the guy that's retiring should get a win on the way out.
As somebody who was pitching that John Cena should have won on the way out, I could imagine being in that scenario with New Japan too.
So Okada's going to win, and then people will start to chant for Inoki. The ghost of Inoki.
Or just Triple H?
No, I think Tanahashi should win.
If they'd held garbage anyone, it would be Gato. And he's the one that's actually booking this shit.
Tanahashi should win, and I've said before that he's actually my favorite New Japan guy of all time. And it sucks to see him wrapping up his career right as Cena was wrapping up his career. But he did recently say that he wants to put on the best match he can and not have people using the quality of the match as a justification for his retirement. So I imagine whatever he's got left, we're going to see it on January 4th.
I mean, if I were him and he wants to have the best match possible, I wouldn't be having loads of singles matches in the build up to that final match, which he's having. He's having singles matches on every single one of these Road to Tokyo Dome shows before it. He's already had a match with Hiromu Takahashi recently. He's going to be fighting El Desperado on Sunday, and then he's going to be fighting Kosei Fujita on Monday. So if I were him, if I was New Japan or I was him, I'd be wrapping him in cotton wool until this match. Like put him in 8-man tag matches where he only goes in for like 1 minute and then tags out. And so, but he's going to go out the way that he always does, like just wrestling as best as he possibly can. So the reason why it's a 7-match card, by the way, is because there's going to be a big ceremony both before and after the match for a big retirement ceremony, and also the show is being broadcast on Japanese network television, so they have a time slot that they have to fulfill, so they can't, and basically they will cut every single match off the show if they need to, rather than the main event if they need to give it the time to get done. So that's why it's a lot smaller a card than more recent Wrestle Kingdom shows have been.
Well, not sure if I'm going to be watching that show. I'm definitely not going to be doing a post show afterward or whatever like that. But we'll talk about the predictions, maybe a little recap beforehand if we get an opportunity. Sometimes that ends up popping up like right when we're doing the hot tag. Sometimes it ends up being like we don't get much of a chance, but we'll see. In some fashion, we'll talk about what ends up happening there, and when that happens on Wrestle Kingdom 20, and over the course of these next bunch of episodes and stuff, we got those spoilers and stuff for you guys to be paying attention to. And later on today, when they do the Raw and SmackDown spoilers, I'll get them up as soon as I possibly can. I figure out what's going on over there. I got somebody who says that they're going to send me the results, but I don't know for sure if that person's going to follow through or not. So keep checking smark.mamba.com. Make sure that you're checking everything else that you can find under A Mango Tree at amangotree.com. You can also go to anthonymango.com. It's exactly the same link tree list. So follow those accounts if you're interested, and follow Rob and Callum elsewhere too.
Yep, follow me over at Dude Fleece, and thanks for checking this one out. Callum?
You can follow me at Wigmeister14 on Twitter and Blue Sky. Check out the power rankings every single Saturday over on smark.moma.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And then while you're over there, head on over to the Fantasy League at www.fantasyleague.com, to see how all of our teams are doing, who's picking up points as we head towards the next big point scoring event, which will be the Royal Rumble.
Make sure that you go back and check out the Superstar Scores John Cena that we did for this main event for this week. Check out the End of the Year Awards. We got the WWE Awards side of things already recorded. We have the AEW End of the Year Awards already out there too. So if you want to get early access to that, the only way for you to do that is to be on the $5 and up tier of what we've got going on. And then, you can check out to see what our lists are with everything along those lines. But other than that, I mean, that's that episode of the Hot Tag. So the next time you're going to be hearing from us outside of those pre-recorded AEW and WWE End of the Year Awards is probably going to be the AEW World's End predictions mixed in with the Hot Tags sometime a little bit right after Christmas. So, check around on all these things. Hopefully, if you celebrate the holidays, or if not, still happy holidays to you in whatever fashion that might be. And we will see you next time. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.